Welcome to another day in the Matrix, waters above crypto. I'm sending you all love and high vibrations to start this week. We're continuing to see downside pressure on the entire market, the stock indices, precious metals, and cryptocurrencies all starting the week in the red. So in today's video, I'm going to start out with a Gematria decode and share some important upcoming dates to keep an eye on, and then we'll move into the charts of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP to do some technical analysis and share this setup for the rest of the week as we approach our monthly close for April. So if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with Gematria Numerology and Astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on when new videos come out. And make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious beings to help grow this community. And for those of you that want to learn how to do technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, you can join my Mastermind course. The link to my website can be found in the description box of this video and in the pinned comment below for access to the Mastermind course. And with that being said, let's take the red pill. So plenty of you are aware by now that we are slowly moving closer towards the eclipse, which will be on April 30th, transitioning into the start of May. So we're definitely going to touch on that in a moment, but for now, let's just cover a couple of dates of significance. So first of all, we have tomorrow, which will be April 26th, and just a couple things to consider here. We have the date numerology, the way that I like to add them up with double digits, and you can see right here, 4 plus 26 plus 20 plus 22, giving us that 72. 72 is a very big esoteric number. It's half of the 144, and the 144 is a very powerful number for those of you that study numerology. And we could also see this connection here with the 72 to Bitcoin here in English ordinal cipher. So again, here on this channel, we're using Gematria and this Gematria calculator, primarily focusing on the English ordinal and the Chaldean ciphers, and then putting some importance on the full reduction. And I say this because I just recently had an interview over there with Donut Factory, and it brought plenty of new people over to this channel, lots of new subscribers. So first of all, I am so grateful for your support. Welcome to the Wolf Pack. So we're having fun over here with the numbers, and it's very important that we take these into consideration because as we transition into the month of May, this is typically a lot of energy within the markets. The month of May during a Shemitah year, which is the sabbatical year every 7 years, we're currently in that Shemitah cycle. The month of May plays a huge role in the biggest energetic movements of the market outside of the month of September into October. But that's far enough away now where we could focus 1 week at a time on what's going on here. And for those of you that want to know more about the Shemitah and what's going on with that and how it relates to market cycles and geopolitical events and how it affects the economy, etc., I released a Shemitah Gematria decode a couple days back on my Patreon. So it's over there on patreon.com/watersabove, and you'll be able to find when you become a member over there the recent Shemitah decode that I did. It's comprehensive. It's full of tons of information. But since we're speaking about Shemitah, we have the standard date numerology of April 26, giving us that 18. And we could see right here in that Chaldean cipher on Shemitah, we get that 18. And that's very, very important, guys, because whenever we're seeing this 18 tied to Judaism, we know that's a very important number. It's one of their most important numbers. And they even give gifts and money in increments of 18. So it plays a big role in what's going on here. Now, one of the big connections for me, which made this date stand out to me, is it will be exactly 33 weeks since the start of Shemitah. So Shemitah started on Rosh Hashanah of 2021, which was September 7th. And you could see that is exactly 33 weeks until tomorrow. So when we measure those two dates apart, this 33 is important, okay? It's very, very important. And it plays a big role in this year in particular because we're currently in the Chinese year of the water tiger. So for those of you that are unaware, Chinese New Year this year, the Lunar New Year was the year of the tiger, but specifically the water tiger. And you can see water tiger added together gives us that 33 in Chaldean, just like tomorrow will be 33 weeks since the start of Shemitah. And any of you who are aware of the number 33, you know know it's esotericism, it's ties to Freemasonry and lots of other things that are going on here. It has to deal with ascension. It has to deal with alchemy, transcendence, the illumination process, right? So there's 32, vertebrae in the spine. The 33rd is the pineal gland, the activation of the pineal gland. And we could talk about this number ad nauseum, but it's important to see that 33 connection coming in tomorrow, as well as we know that in cryptocurrency, Ethereum or ETH is the 33. So there's a big tie here. And we could also see that 15 also tying us back to Tiger. We're in the Tiger year. We have that 15. And everything so far this year has been really focused on the numbers 14, 15, and 16. We've talked about them quite a bit. It was one of the ways we were able to determine how the Super Bowl would go. Remember, the ram and the blowing of the ram's horn or the shofar has to deal with Rosh Hashanah and also predominantly Shemitah, and that is the year we're in right now. So it's all about this connection back to Judaism and Kabbalah. So let's get a little bit deeper here. We also have something to remember about Ethereum and the big tie to the 33, because if we remember last year when I started my channel around March of 2021. That means we were making videos up and through the month of May. And I told everyone back in April into May to look out for May 11th through 13th for Ethereum, because it was 33 weeks since Rosh Hashanah back in September 18th through 20th of 2020. And if we go back, that was the exact date of the top on Ethereum. Ethereum hit its top date exactly 33 weeks and 3 days since the start of Rosh Hashanah, the start of the Hebrew New Year in 2020, moving us into 2021, 33 weeks and 3 days later. It blew my mind to see how important Gematria Numerology plays a role in how this market behaves. So again, don't sleep on this 33 and its tie to Ethereum. It always plays a big role in everything. So now something to consider is the upcoming date of April 29th. This, I believe, will be one of the bigger dates to pay attention to. Again, it is the transition date into the eclipse on April 30th. I'll show you right here. We have the partial solar eclipse on April 30th. So this is an important date because it will be 33 weeks and 3 days since the start of Shemitah, not just any, Hebrew year, this specific 7-year cycle. So you can see that will be the 33 weeks and 3 days, the 333, and it's happening on the day before the eclipse. So another couple connections we can make right here is the date numerologies to Rosh Hashanah match up. You can see this was the standard date numerology of Rosh Hashanah. It's the 21, and the April 29th date is also 21. Then we have here the date numerology when you add double digits is the 57. As above, so below. We get 75, the mirror of the 57. Okay, so that plays a huge role in everything that's going on here. And one extra little tip to help you guys out, just to give you a little bit of a cheat code when you're doing your numerology, is you always want to do a little bit of reduction to see if it correlates with everything else that's going on. So of course, 7 plus 5, when you reduce that down, it would become 12. And 12 would also get reduced down 1 plus 2 to 3. So think about this. We're 33 weeks and 3 days, and the 75-57 connection reduces down to 3. 21 reduces down to 3. If it was 22, because that's a master number, we would not reduce that down. If it was 11, master number, we would not reduce that down. The same thing with 33. So this 33 connection and the fact that the date numerologies are giving us the reduction down to 3, that's an extra 3 to throw on there, guys. It's a very powerful, number sequence to consider. April 29th is no joke, all right? So that's really what this decode is all about today. It's about April 29th and the transition into the eclipse that will be coming the next day. All right. One other thing to mention here that I brought up in my Red Pill podcast yesterday, and another thing for those people out there that, they want more frequent content, maybe they're more interested in behind the scenes content. Every week over on my Patreon, I do the Red Pill podcast, which is about 1 hour long. I use that podcast to give my overall weekly wrap up of the markets, share some of my thoughts on what's going on in the world, You know, if you listen to the interview that I did with Coach JV or the recent interview that I shared with Donut Factory, those are kind of the ideas that we're talking about in that podcast. And then I'm bringing it and wrapping it all up, covering a bunch of different altcoins. So I go over not only just Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, but I'll go over about 4 to 5 different altcoins that the members of my patron supporters vote on every week. So yesterday in my Red Pill podcast, I brought up a fascinating connection, which is the fact that April 29th is the 119th day of the year. Now, 119 is the 9/11 backwards, the 119. Mirrored is 9/11. And this September 11th that's about to come up, 9/11, will be the 21st anniversary since 9/11. So this day has been packed with important numbers, all right? And remember, this we made a big connection here. This is kind of off the path, but it does matter. Twin Towers giving you that 166, and Ukraine, Russia together giving you that 166. So back in 9/11, it was all about the Twin Towers and the Twin Tower ritual. You had Tower 1 and Tower 2, which is Yakin and Boaz. And then when that energy gets released, it moves into Tower 7. Now you have the 117, or the mirror of the 711. And this energy gets sent to the pentagram. It was called the Pentagon, but it's the pentagram. This is a magic ritual, a black magic ritual. For those of you that are unaware of that, that's how it was going. What they want people to do is focus so much on holographic planes and whether it was, an inside job. That's not what matters. What matters is seeing the magic and the ritual and the energy and understanding that those buildings are a technology. They're a technological piece of this big grid that we have. All right? So to go deeper into all of this, there's always the Twin Towers. Go back to George Floyd, what happened a couple years ago, another distraction during the C word. And what we saw happen was it was in Minnesota, or the Twin Cities, that area, the Twin Towers, Twin Cities. When the C word started, they had 2 big ships on each coast, the Atlantic and Pacific coast of America. That was the 2 towers. This is always going back to that. Okay? So I believe that this connection that we made here with that 9/11 or 119 on this exact day, the 33 weeks and 3 days since the start of Shemitah, and we can see that we are moving into the 21st anniversary of 9/11 on this exact year. And remember that 21 always comes back to Saturn, all right? Father Time, King of Earth. All right, so this is a really, really important connection here, because anything that comes back to Saturn comes back to Satoshi Nakamoto, and everything that comes back to Satoshi and the artificial sun called Bitcoin is what controls this entire market, is the energy power plant of the entire market. It is the collateral layer of the entire market. And anyone who disagrees with that, well, you have a lot to learn, son. So let's make one more incredible connection here about this upcoming eclipse. So this is just a little Gematria fun we could have. We know we're moving into the partial solar eclipse. Now we have partial solar eclipse, just for fun. And we're going to see where this goes. Let's focus on solar eclipse, actually. So with that solar eclipse, we have that 134, and I love that 134 because it's an anagram of pi. 3.14, so we know that's the full circle. And what our eclipse is all about, it's all about the sun and the moon. Remember, the Hebrew calendar isn't like the Gregorian. The Hebrew calendar considers the moon and the sun. That's why we pay attention to that more when we're going into finances, because finances have more correlation to the moon, and the Gregorian system is only on the sun. The Jesuits are focused more on the sun, and this goes deep, right? But actually the Jesuit logo that we're seeing, the IHS logo, that logo is showing you an eclipse ritual. It's not just the sun, right? So anyways, we could talk about that another time. The 134 in solar eclipse, coincidentally, we also get Ripple XRP giving us the 134. So that's a really interesting connection as well. So I've showed many times how Ripple XRP and it tying back to the Jesuits, and it's pretty amazing to see how we were just talking about that eclipse and the logo, the IHS. Another thing that a lot of people, when they talk about IHS and it's what it stands for, the Isis Horus Set or Seth, that's not right. It's Isis Horus Serapis. It's Serapis. So go check that out if you want. That's more esoteric and that's more accurate, believe it or not. So this connection between solar eclipse giving you 134, as you can see right there, anagram of pi, and Ripple XRP giving you that 134. I just thought that was fun because when we transition into this next day, the day of the eclipse, you can see we get the 76 date numerology. And guess what 76? Ripple gives you the 76. So again, this is moving into the Saturday, the Saturn day, the day of Saturn. And we also see that the date numerology is going to be 13. And the 13th tarot card is the death card. 13th tarot card in the major arcana. It's the death card, and death personified is the Grim Reaper, who is Saturn, the one who holds the scythe. All right. The scythe is the sickle. That's why when you get sick, they call it sick. It's sickle, all right? So sick, L is Saturn, all right? This has everything to do. Death, made the connection? So once you start breaking down the word spells, you start to learn a lot about how important these mythologies are. Go study Saturn, Jupiter, Kronos, all of their counterparts, you know? And the more you break that down, even to Sati, you know, you really start breaking it down, getting even into the Vedic, etc., and you start to be pretty mind blown about all these connections. So I don't want to make this video too long, but I feel like this is the stuff you guys really want to learn about, you know, so I try to incorporate it as much as I can in my videos. Now, this day before, and of course, 33 weeks and 3 days following into the date of the eclipse, this I expect a lot of volatility in the markets. First and foremost, we know it's an eclipse, and it's a new moon eclipse. When we consider new moons, and I've taught you guys this many times, but just to recap, the new moon is a bullish energy. 5 days before to 5 days after a new moon is typically a bullish energy, which considers our microcycle tops. Then when we consider full moons, it's 5 days before or 5 days after. Typically, this is on average, okay? So this is an estimated average. We are bearish around 5 days before up to 5 days after a full moon, all right? Now, we've surpassed the full moon, but we're moving into an eclipse. So this eclipse energy is always way more powerful than just our normal lunar cycle, right? We've been talking about this lunar cycle since my channel started. So we know it plays such a huge role in how the behavior of this market goes. When you combine this with technical analysis and some basic astrology, not only just the tropical, but the sidereal as well, you start to see all these missing pieces regarding most people's analysis of how markets operate. So with this all being considered, we know this is a very important date, the 30th of April being that eclipse. So plenty of more to speak about regarding this, but we know that this will be leading into the next eclipse. All right. So I'll save this for next week since this is about a whole, week away. But we know this next eclipse is going to be a total lunar eclipse on May 16th, and that's the big one. That's the one that I'm paying a lot of attention to. And if you look the day before that, it'll be 8 months and 8 days since the start of Shemitah, the 88. The 8 could be considered the Taurus field, the Analema, the infinity symbol. We know Metaverse rebranded from Facebook. They're using the 8. Again, remember I just said the Taurus field or the toroidal field, and this is during tropical Taurus, all right, 88, 2 Taurus fields interacting with each other, all right? This has to do with creation, because Adam and Eve were 2 Taurus fields who came together to create a third, a fourth, etc. And again, this isn't about biblical, this is about the esotericism. This is where it gets deep, all right? And then one last thing to say about this particular date is it'll be 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days since the start of the pandemic, since C-word started. So let me just show you that really quickly, and then we'll transition. So this March 11th was the official date of the pandemic, and then the 13th was the day, Friday the 13th, where Bill Gates stepped down from Microsoft and started going on his path of quote-unquote philanthropy, essentially, destroying, but that's another story. We can see this connection again going back to all of this around that same time frame. And if you go from the 13th over, we get exactly 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days. And then from the exact date of the pandemic, we go to the Friday the 13th that's coming up. Okay, so this is a very important time frame. Basically from May 13th all the way up till May 16th, the day of the upcoming eclipse, that's going to be a game changer for the market, in my opinion, based on everything that I've studied and everything that I've seen happen over these past couple years, deeply analyzing this market. So we'll get to that when it comes, but I wanted to give you that kind of like a little bit ahead of time to prepare you guys for any big energy in the market to come. So let's get into the TA. We know that we have a lot going on. Let's just look at the macro analysis really quickly on Bitcoin, and then we'll breeze through some of the other things to note. Now we have the bi-weekly chart. With this bi-weekly chart, we're going to go ahead and shut off our drawings, and we're just going to pull up some of our key moving averages. And you could see things aren't looking so good. We've been closing consecutive candles below a lot of our key moving averages, predominantly the 8 simple moving average on the 2-week chart. So that's the bi-weekly. The next key level of support to the downside would be somewhere around 33,800 on this 55 simple moving average. The reason this 55 simple would be really important is because it aligns with the prior lows coming back to the beginning of the year. And then it also aligns with this cluster of, let me just hide this for you guys. It aligns with this cluster of support going back to last year around the same time. So you see this big red candle kicked in around May 10th. It actually started around May 19th. That was the eclipse of May back last year. So now you get why I'm taking the May eclipse coming up this year very seriously. Remember that saying, sell in May, walk away. So we just had our bi-weekly close. It's looking not so good. So this is a very bearish looking chart, and that's important to take note of because, again, the relief rallies that we could have off of extreme greed and or extreme fear, we know we have extreme fear in the market. The relief rallies that we have off of extreme fear could be very quick and short-lived, and you want to look at the overall chart structure. And yes, in the long term, we have a high, we have a higher high, we have low and multiple higher lows, but this is just coiling up into a huge horizontal trading range that needs to kind of solidify a direction sooner than later. The longer it stays in this sideways pattern, it's great, but we're looking ready for a spring, in my opinion. And if you study Wyckoff method, you know what a spring is. It's a boom V shape. So it's a quick move down, and we got to wait and see how this plays out, because in my opinion, I'd be waiting more for the spring to kick in somewhere around the end of September, not just yet. But a move up would be more than likely in the short term because we have the historical chart data going out, every 7-year cycle, every Shemitah, showing us a move up into mid-May and then a sell-off. Okay, so this sell in May, walk away. It just comes out of nowhere. Like once we transition into May, in the stock market I'm talking about, because we don't have a lot of data for crypto, but it is something to consider. All right. So weekly close, same story, not looking so good. You can see the 55 simple moving average has actually started to create a downward slope. That's not good. The only thing positive that's coming here is the 8 simple is starting to cross above the 13 EMA. That could be potentially showing us something, but that's just something that happens after you spend so much time trading sideways. We could even see MACD histogram flipping red. That's a bearish sign. We could see RSI below 50 on the weekly. That's a bearish sign. This is all looking pretty rough. Okay, the 5-day, it's curving to the downside pretty quickly, expecting a bear cross sooner than later. And we could see we're below all of our key moving averages here as well. RSI sloping down and below 50, that's bearish. Closing below all of the key moving averages, again, bearish. And all of our EMAs are sloping downwards. The 55 simple still on the upslope, coming in around 47,000. So we know 47K is one of our first big levels to the upside to have to deal with. This 3-day 55 simple moving average is like a compass at this time. We could see right here, we've been really respecting the 3-day chart for Bitcoin. The 200 exponential moving average considered with this 55 simple moving average has been giving us our trading range, okay? And we could see it right here on support, the 200 simple, and we broke down through that yesterday, but we've never broke down below that since. So that's really not good. This is all showing signs of bearish. And for Bitcoin to be bearish at this time, what it likes to do is short squeeze, get people to be, overly fearful, and then we see institutions move in, push it to the other side, and that's where the altcoins wake up a little bit. But in these moments is when the altcoins really suffer, okay? This arduous downtrend. And downtrends closing macro candles such as the 2-day, 3-day, 5-day below 200 moving averages, that's not good, man. So we could see this 8 simple crossing below all the key EMAs, and as well the 55 simple sloping to the downside, coming in around 44,000. So we would need a 3-day close above this 55 simple, in my opinion, to see a swipe up into 47 and then more continuation into 51. At this time, I don't see Bitcoin going above 51 to 52K. Not anytime soon. It would have to happen very fast, and the whole entire market would need to recover. So far, Bitcoin is still very correlated to the overall stock market. Now we can see this 200 simple moving average is playing a similar kind of role on the 2-day to what we were just looking at with the 3-day chart regarding the 55 simple moving average. We're closing below all the moving averages on this one. Look at this. Yeah, it speaks for itself. Let's look at the daily. Daily's horrible. All right. So the only thing I could say here that could be somewhat okay is the fact that, yes, we are still maintaining an uptrend on daily closes. Until we close a daily below 37,700, we're still in an uptrend. Today seemed to be a nice little wick to the downside. We'll see how the rest of the day progresses. It's only around 11 a.m. right now, and the stock market just opened up. We do have a lot of time to go because the stock market closes around 4 p.m., 4 to 5 p.m., and then we have the crypto market doesn't have its daily close till about 8 p.m. at night. So we have plenty of time to recover off of this and see if any liquidity will shift out of the stock market and move it into crypto. But right now, retail investors are gone. Retail investors don't want to play this game anymore. It's too scary. Every time we get bullish, we go back to bearish, and retail doesn't like that. They're very impatient, got weak hands, and they're not really too considerate of long-term investment plans. They're just here to ride the wave, right? So they wait till Elon Musk tells them what to buy on Twitter. They have no desire to actually make generational wealth. So holding this parallel channel would be ideal. I have not moved this parallel channel since I created it. So as you can see here, let me turn off these moving averages because they're kind of useless at this time. We're just so far below all of them. So you can see here, this parallel channel has been respecting on highs, and all of our lows as a support. So we see that it's coming in around mid-May, let's just call it May 15th, about 51,000, 50 to 51,000. And that's perfectly in alignment with what I was just telling you earlier. And it's also in alignment with the bottom of the golden pocket with the 618 fib. Okay, so let's consider all that. Now to the downside, holding this 236 fib would be ideal. All right, if we start to close dailies below the 236, that's where we would start to get a little bit more worried, and we would anticipate a swipe down to the lower end around 35. Not holding 35, then we have a new story to discuss. So until then, we'll just play it one day at a time. I'm playing it a week at a time because I don't really have such a short way of analyzing this market. But for those of you that are maybe day traders, you're a little bit more of an active investor, you definitely want to consider that support line right there coming in on this parallel channel, which has been holding pretty nicely. But swipes down to the 236 is definitely where we see some of our greatest bounces. This parallel channel does not need to be in play forever. Again, it wasn't in play for a majority of the last 2 years. What it's telling me is it's a level we like to gravitate down to after we get above it. That's all this parallel channel is there for. It's not the overall time trading in the range. Believe it or not, the overall time is just a horizontal trading range, which as a Wyckoff trader, which I am, I really like to see horizontal charts like this. Bitcoin is showing itself off as a very sophisticated asset at this time comparatively to a lot of other altcoins. If you study the altcoins that were in the 2017 market, very few of them have made it back to their all-time highs and surpassed their all-time highs. Only really new DeFi projects and a lot of the newer stuff that's entered the market since 2019 has done really well. But when it comes to stuff that was around in 2015, unless you bought it in 2014 or 2015, a lot of that stuff is down since the 2018 blow off top. So again, anyone who is in Dash, XRP, EOS, that kind of stuff, you know what I mean. Let's just quickly look at ETH. This market is very volatile right now because the stock market just opened up. And even look at precious metals. I mean, how is there any argument anymore that precious metals are a hedge against inflation when they just tank at the same rate as the stock market? I mean, they move in harmony, even worse than the stock market, actually. So the precious metal and gold, gold and silver as precious metals, they're not really holding up to the way that a lot of these gold bugs discuss them as. That's just a side note. I mean, I would never want to hold something physical that's this volatile and moves in sync with the rest of the market. It's not decoupled at all. In the macro, it's following the same exact trend as the stock market, and tech stocks have obviously outperformed. Anyways, that's a whole different conversation. We can see this trend line on ETH is still holding up, and then we have a downwards upsloping support line coming in here. About 2,600 would be our level, and then we have that in alignment with the 382 fib. So coming down to that level would be pretty key. So that gives you a little bit of a downside target. If we are to bounce, I would suspect getting back to about 3,000 because that's a psychological level, and that would probably have to deal with Bitcoin getting above 3,900 again. 3,900 to 39,500. That would be around the level. Excuse me. Sometimes it's hard when you're thinking about the 4-digit ETH and then the 5-digit Bitcoin. But anyways, you know what I mean. So yeah, the 3,000 psychological level is a level we keep playing around with and just snaking around. And every time we break above it slightly, it's very short-lived. So again, if we break below it, it's also very short-lived. We just keep kind of moving in and out of them. So not a whole lot to say regarding ETH. It's just following Bitcoin as we expect until there's a difference in Bitcoin dominance. Okay, so XRP, same story. We've actually broken down below the 786 again, so that's not good. Getting out of this golden pocket on the bearish pull. We pulled a bearish fib down here from 37 cents up to the yearly high. I did it a little bit different because, again, where XRP is in the cycle comparatively to the last bull run, it is actually lower than where it was in the 2018 run. So I'm using this bearish fib because I believe it's giving me a lot more of a better way of analyzing this specific chart than the other fib pull that I had on Ethereum, for instance. Ethereum's prior all-time high was like 1,400 and it went to 4,000, as opposed to XRP's prior all-time high is $3, and we see XRP could barely get to $2 on the last run up in a year ago. So what I'm looking to see from my analytical point of view is daily closes above this golden pocket, above the 618. Again, this is pulled in reverse, a bearish fib pull. And I teach all this stuff in my Mastermind course. So getting above that level into like $1 again, that would solidify to me we're going to move up for another big move to the upside. But until then, we're sort of trapped. And if we do return back to this 888, that's a huge sign of weakness on this particular project. And it's showing me that retail is not holding this bag. They are not interested as much as they seem, and that's definitely something to consider here. And what I would just mention to people is trading within this golden pocket is completely normal, but as we continue to plant newer lows in the micro, we need some energy to move this bad boy back up, and it's not retail that's going to do it. It's going to need to be big money, and big money is exiting. So will we get a sell in May, walk away play? That's really what we're hoping for, but nobody should be hoping for anything in a market. You just have to take what the market gives you. And in your free time, you want to study the market, study how to trade the market, and you can make money in both directions. Then you don't need to worry about the performance of tokens. So one of the other things to mention here is the DXY, the US dollar currency index, is extremely overextended. I mean, this is ridiculous. It being up 0.5% day after day after day. It's too much, and I suspect that something's got to give. I mean, it's moving up parabolically at this point, and this is very similar to how a lot of Shemitah cycles are. You can see that the post-C word, pump was going up to about 102, and right now we're about 101, and I suspected this will become a cup and handle. So where this tops out would be typically around the level right here, because you can see there was a cluster of trading hitting into 100.5, but now we're just moving, man. I mean, this thing is really overheating, and something's got to give. So with that being said, a lot of volatility right now. Even oil is taking a pretty big hit along with the precious metals. So Let's see how the rest of today's trading day goes. Again, we went over the big date of 4/29, which will be in a couple days from today, the transition into the eclipse. Oh, you see that right there too. When we connect this date of 4/28, it is 111 weeks and 1 day. Going back to March 11th, and the day before, which is tomorrow, will be 700, or 2 days from today is 777 days. That is a massive connection too. So wow, what a week, guys. So we have from March 11th till the 27th, it's the 777 days. Amazing. So I'll probably make a smaller video later on about this over on Patreon. And then I do have that Great Awakening boot camp that me and Coach JV over at 3T Warrior Academy will be starting at 2 p.m. So anyone who signed up for that, I'm excited to get into my presentation and have a chat with Coach JV. And I will be seeing you guys later on today if that's the case. Wishing you all a beautiful rest of your day in the Matrix. Much love.